Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to Epiphile 11. This is an ongoing series on JavaScript, and in this video, I will be going to discuss about ES6 classes. One of the YouTube subscriber has commented to make videos on JavaScript that will have real-world examples, such as carousel steps, drop down. But that's really fully not possible simply because I'm not going to use any browser for that. So I will be using Node.js environment so that you can code on Node.js. Okay. So I will try to cover real-world examples as much as possible without implementing them, but I hope you'll be able to understand the concept. So let's get started, and in this video I will be talking about class properties, inheritance, super, and a few other things if possible. Okay, so let's get started and talk about the classes. Okay, so I'm not going to discuss what is class and what is those fundamental theories and basic, because you will be able to get all those basics easily online by searching. So it's whenever you want to whenever you need to know something in depth with the theoretical knowledge, so I would suggest you to go ahead and read some article, because in articles or EMD all the concept is kept written in detail so that you can understand what is what, because it's like a textbook concept. So I would suggest to go study first, and then understand the core concept of classes. So I assume that you know what is classes in object-oriented programming, and in JavaScript we are going to have something kind of similar. Let's get started. Okay, and let's make a class user. I will try to make my example as closer to the real world as possible. Okay, and JavaScript by default will assign a constructor itself if you do not define. So let's define a constructor, and it can be let's say users, okay, or all users. And by default you can have a data, or can pass you can pass data or you cannot. So first of all, let's go ahead and do not pass any data. Okay, I will try to show you a uh, more easier example. So let's go ahead. So you define it like this. So you normally you cannot define any properties outside of the constructor as of yet now, but it's in this constructor defining possibilities already available is in Babel or other packages, or in a stage 3, I think. So for now we have to define the properties inside the constructor. So let's see what happens if we try to do some logging here. This is nice inside constructor, and here if we define new user, and if we define the name, so we will be able to print that things. Okay, so that's super easy. Now we can define some methods here, like print name. I will make some more interesting examples, so stay with me and watch till to the end. So that is just a very generic example, but I'm going to give you a real world example right after this one. So stay with me, and if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe this channel, because you are going to have lots of free videos, and yep, free videos on development of apps and web. So yeah, stick with us. And if you have question, you can actually join our Facebook group. So my name is, so template literals you can use. I really hate using plus signs, like here you write this way and then this way, then you make a plus. Oh no, this is super ugly. In ES6 you can use this template literal, and then you can access the property does this dot name. So what you can do is that you can say console.log sorry for this unwanted noise. User, you can access the method just like this, print name. So what will happen is that you will be able to access the property defined in the constructor in from any method, just like any programming, object-oriented programming. So that's simple, and since we're not returning, it doesn't print anything, so I can return here this dot name as well, so I can get the name here printed. That's perfect, right? And if you you can set the getter, and getter you can call the getter just like this, so it will work as well. Okay, so you can set you can use the getters as well. Okay, so this is how it works. So this is and one more thing is that you don't have any actually public and private properties as of yet, but you could use it using Babel and Anya, our external packages. But this is still on the proposal stage, just for the JavaScript community. So you will be able to, we will be able to get it sooner, hopefully, public and private properties. Okay, now let's go ahead and make some real-world examples with users, and then maybe we will use the inheritance. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it out. Okay, so let's make a class user, and with the constructor, let's say all users, and by default we can make the users list empty, or we can pass the user list from the outside. Let's make it empty, and you can define empty properties like this. And then you have to define the all users, like all user this dot all users equal all users. Perfect. Now here we need to make some methods. Okay, register user. Perfect, right? And we will register this user. You can say we will pass the user object, and we will simply register it like that. This dot all users dot push. So we will push the user object from this register user method. Okay, so now let's go ahead and define the class user equal new user, and we don't have to pass the all user list because we don't have any, so it's by default will be empty. That's perfect. So let's make another variable as content input from outside, let's say from outside web, and let's define something like that, an object that will have a name. Let's say name will be my name, and email will be some random email, and let's make password. This could be a real world example, and you could use it for 5. That's okay. Now let's register these users in our system. So how do we register it? So we register it like user dot register user, and we pass the input from outside web. Okay, so we already registered, and now let's use getter get users, we can say get user lists, and we can simply return this dot all users. So we can return all these users from here. Now we can do the console here and see how many users we do have. This dot user list. Perfect. So we have one user defined here, and then we can actually define another user simply like let's say, or we can pass directly here from here, let's say another user object with select 2, and let's say 2, and password let's say 45656. Okay, so we can define register another user with this another input, second input, and we get this whole things. Okay, so super perfect, right? Awesome. Now let's see how this inheritance works. Okay, so in order to make inheritance, let's introduce another class. Let's call it so this is user input, right? So we should not register the users before validating the users. So let's make a class that will validate the users. So let's make it class validate, and what we can do is that we can actually make a method validate user and take the user object. Okay, for now we can take the password, anything, but let's take a password and just do the validation for the password. Okay, so if user object dot password dot length let's say length is smaller than 6, we can say return false or return true from here. So that's perfect. So we are validating the user password for the time being. So let's go ahead and validate this user before even coming here, okay, and see what it returns. So now let's introduce, I'm trying to make it as make sense as possible, okay. So let's go ahead and extend this class and use for user so that we can reuse our class everywhere. Extend validate, okay, perfect. But there is a problem. C is not defined, class is not defined. What is this error is coming from? Okay, I'm not sure what is this error is coming from. Okay, so here you go. On here you go. You see, it must call super constructor in derived class before accessing this or returning from derived constructor. So one thing is that we need to use super keyword in order to be able to use any of these methods in the derived class, which means the in the validated class, we have to use super in the user class in order to be able to use any methods defined in validate, or methods or properties defined in constructor inside the validate class, okay. So we have to use super in here. So let's use the super here for now, and if we use super, this error will be gone. So perfect, right? So now we will be able to use this class. But if I simply uncomment it, we will not be able to use this method at all. So we have to use super. So keep that in mind. Now that's perfect, and let's go ahead and check it out. What we have here now: 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So what should we get? So let's yeah, check it out now. Now we will be calling here, let's say console.log this dot validate user. Now we can access this validate user, and we will be we need to pass the user object. So returns false. Let's see what it returns. Validate user object dot password dot length. Okay, we are passing two objects right now. So let's comment one, and we don't have to comment this one, so let's comment the first one. Okay, and see here. So I commented the first user and actually don't need it. I just wanted to show it for an example. Okay, so I'm passing a user with password 12345, which mean it should not be checked. Let's check it out. User dot password dot length. It should print false. Why it is printing true instead? If user dot password dot length is smaller than 6, yeah, smaller than 6 is actually mean 5, so it's actually true. So let's make it smaller than 7, so it has to be 6 actually. No, wait a minute. Okay, so I have the password here. Little confused here, I'm really sorry. Sometimes it gets stuck. So user object dot password, and then let's print the length. So here you go, we have undefined here. That was the reason I was getting the problem here. So it's dot string, so I will not be able to actually get the length. So that was the reason. Okay, I hope you got it now. So sometime you will be messing with so much stupid things. Now let's check it out with 6 here. Okay, that's perfect now. So here you can see that it's returning false if it is less than 6, and otherwise it's true. Let's make some more here. So it will return true now. Okay, so that means this line of code is being executed. Okay, so that's perfect. Now let's go ahead and actually send some little data. So that means we can remove this one for now, and we can say if this is false, that we can say that throw user password must be greater than 6. Perfect, right? So we are getting this error. So that means we are not registering the user, and before even registering the user, we are kicking the thread out from executing this block of code. Okay, this line will not be executed, and from here the JavaScript will end. Okay, so I hope you guys have understood what is actually the classes actually. So what is properties, class, inheritance, super, and what's required. In the next video, I will try to cover more stuff on the classes like mixins, and how you can inherit multiple classes, and how we can access more and more classes with mixins and other properties, other kind of way of writing your code. Okay, and then we will move on to the modular JavaScript, and we will break down all the classes and methods, and then we will how we can make use of our reusable code in JavaScript. Okay, so I hope you have understood, and if you have any question, go ahead in our Facebook group, development with FP4 Lab, and let me know your queries, and I will try to help, and other guys will definitely are awesome, so they will also be able to help you. And if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And I have a new course going on, which is free and actually freemium. So most of these course lessons are free, but you could get a dedicated support, including chatting with me, and then you will be able to have more advanced concept on Laravel and Vue.js. Okay, so if you are interested, please check out the premium courses in the description below. Thank you, guys.